So it looks like after 3 years since the whole Brexit debate and referendum, the vote leave, the triggering of Article 50, and then the negotiations to leave the European Union, after 3 years of British politics being completely dominated by Brexit, it looks like we're coming to the finishing line. I think we've got about 50 days to go, about 7 weeks. There may still be a few twists and turns along the way, but we're heading to that March the 29th cliff edge. And then we will finally be an independent nation again, Britain. Again, Parliament will be sovereign in our land under the Crown. We will be able to make our own laws without having to be always aligning ourselves with the bureaucrats in Brussels or putting their laws into practice in our land. And it will be a new beginning in British history. It will be a new chapter of our history. We will be defining ourselves again, and politics will come alive in Britain again. The issues that have been suppressed over the last 3 years, immigration, moral issues, issues about taxation, the levels of taxation, the public services that are provided, the whole debate over that, but most importantly, debates about our culture and our national identity, they can be reawakened. Because the truth is, for the past 3 years, Brexit has sucked the oxygen out of British politics. It's nullified all the other issues. They've all been consumed by this one overwhelming issue of sovereignty and the leaving of the European Union. And really beginning to tire of it because we've neglected a lot of other big issues in our land. Of course, in the United States, the exact opposite is taking place. Donald Trump has triggered a whole series of intense debates about the nature and the future of America. A real politics has come alive in America. And we've seen this most recently over the issue of abortion, which is not a big issue in Britain. You know, we sort of just accept that hundreds of thousands of our children are going to be murdered in the womb, taken out of the womb and murdered every year. And this has had a dramatic effect on the population of our land and on the demographic composition of Britain. You can see this in Northern Ireland, where they haven't had abortion, and they reckon it's added 100,000 people to the population of Northern Ireland, indigenous people. That's, I don't know, about 100,000. There's about 6 or 7, maybe 8% of the Northern Irish population. These people will be thankful for their lives because Northern Ireland does not have abortion on its territory. On the other hand, in Britain, we've lost maybe 8 million indigenous British people through abortion. It's sapped the vitality out of our youth and our future, and has come into that vacuum of being millions of immigrants from the Indian subcontinent, from sub-Saharan Africa, from the Far East. It's produced a demographic transformation of Britain from a very homogeneous and cohesive society into a fractured multicultural society with new forces contending for power in our land. It's a very dangerous situation that we've entered into. And this is what the left always wanted. You see, the left have always argued that abortion is the woman's right to choose, but it's not essentially about women for them. It's about stopping our nation from having a vibrant, vital population, a population which is full of life and is engendering new life. It's just another sort of arrow in their armory to destroy our nation, to weaken our nation, to make it sterile, and to make us much easier to conquer and dominate by outside forces. And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that's really cursed this land of Britain. Now, in America, we saw over the last week or so, Governor Cuomo in New York has put forward laws and got them passed to take abortion right up to the 9-month line, right up to the birth of the child. It's horrendous. Because not only is this about the murder of viable children who can live outside the womb, it's also about stopping the growth of the American indigenous population. It's an evil attack on America itself. And Democrats are promoting this abortion, even partial birth abortion right up to the moment of external life. I mean, the child is obviously alive in the womb as an individual person, in many, of course. When a mother feels the child kicking in its womb, it knows that's a person in there with a soul and with a heart and with a mind. And yet now in New York, and the same goes in Rhode Island, and the same goes in New Hampshire, and they tried to get the same in Virginia, that they're going to allow this child to be murdered, to be killed. A beautiful child, a new life, someone's son, someone's daughter. They're going to allow the murder of this child and say it's entirely legal and it's entirely acceptable. In fact, the Democrats want to celebrate abortion as if it's a great thing to murder children. It's demonic. It's like Moloch, you know, in the Bible, where it goes around, it kills the youth. I mean, in Virginia, it got to the point almost of it. Well, it did get to infanticide, that you could kill the child outside the womb if the child was disabled. And the degree of disability would be a negotiation between the physician and the mother. And, what sort of negotiation would that be? What sort of debate? Is this child valid as a human being? Of course, every child is valid as a human being. What degree of disability? I remember there was a girl in Britain who had a hair lip. And she read that a mother had actually aborted their child when she found out the child in the womb had a hair lip. That's how horrendous this debate can get. But America, the Republicans aren't taking this lying down. They're fighting back. They're exposing the barbarity of the Democrat agenda of mass abortion to the point of infanticide. It's like, the Democrats are ruling it under the spirit of King Herod, kill the newborns. Every child should be celebrated. Every life is precious. Every living soul is a gift to our nation. This is our future. This is what the Democrats want to do in America and the left in Europe, is to deprive us of our national future. Not only the individual, but in a collective sense. And we've got to wake up to this reality. They are changing the demographics of our nations in order to destroy us. Because what benefit is it to us if we are reduced, constantly being reduced as a proportion of our society? And the governments that be are focused on the outsiders coming in. It's the outsiders coming in who are given housing, they're given welfare, they're allowed not to work. If you're, for example, a Muslim and you say, well, I'm not allowed due to my faith to work with women, well, then you don't have to work with women. You can reject any job which involves working with women. And there aren't that many of those about these days. Or you can say, like, I can't, because of my faith, Islamic faith, I can't handle alcohol or pork or work on a Friday when I want to go to the mosque or whatever. And these are used then as a reason not to work. These people, therefore, can stay on welfare benefits. They can have huge families on welfare benefits. They can have multiple wives on welfare benefits. This is practically what is happening. And their numbers can explode. And we see the demographic transformation of our nations. And as we know, demography is destiny. If we don't stop this demographic transformation, which is gaining in speed and gaining in size, so that the indigenous population in Britain has been reduced from 98% 20 years ago to 92% 15 years ago to 87% 10 years ago to 83% 5 years ago to 78% now. We're shrinking all the time. What is happening gradually? will suddenly happen. Will happen suddenly. When we've seen the gradual transformation of our nation from British to non-British, dramatically, the non-British will become dominant over the British. They will have the vitality, they will have the youth, they will have the control of our cities. And we're seeing this in city after city, London, Birmingham, Manchester, and the same process is happening in America. And this is one of the reasons why the Republicans are taking such a strong stand against abortion. Because Donald Trump wants to make America great again. He set himself a goal to revitalise America. He set himself a goal to reawaken America, to take America into a new golden age. And he knows that only the American people can deliver that. If the demographic balance changes so much that America ceases to be a European nation, it will be a totally different nation. And the dynamics of that nation will tend more towards civil war than towards American greatness and the growth of American influence on the world stage. Because that's what the left don't want. Their whole agenda was to contract the influence of the Europeans and the Americans on the world stage. That was deliberate. That was their goal. They started with the sort of reversing British imperialism and French imperialism, and then promoting third world nations, whether it be in the Indian subcontinent or China. And we can't allow that to happen, because this is ultimately, as we waxed for so many centuries and expanded our influence around the world to the point where the world speaks our language, English is the language of the world, and accepts so much of the positive things we contributed, now our influence is waning so much that we are actually under threat in our own homelands, and our actual survival is in question. So we need to win the abortion debate, stop abortion, reduce it, make it rare and rarer all the time, so that we can revive our nations. We want to see an increase in the birth rate of the British people and the American people and the European peoples. This is what Viktor Orban's achieving in Hungary. This is what Vladimir Putin's achieving in Russia. This is what the Poles are achieving. They're reversing decades of decline in their birth rate, and they're starting to grow again as a nation. They're starting to have children. And that is so healthy for a nation. They're starting to make the family the focus of life again. They're starting to value the woman as a mother, as a giver of life. And the whole culture of death, which has overcome Western Europe, where children have lost a lot of their value, where women are simply encouraged to work and not have children, and sexual perversity is promoted at every turn. No. We want to live in wholesome societies. This is the real division in our nations. It's between those who want to promote wholesome, positive societies, healthy societies with a future, and those who want to promote the death cult of abortion, who want to promote perversity, sexual perversity, who want to deprive us of a future and see us replaced by other people. I mean, it's set before you life and death. And really, we have got to wake up as nations and choose life, because that's the only desirable choice in this. Donald Trump represents life in America, just as Matteo Salvini represents life in Italy. And we've seen the emergence of the Vox Party in Spain dramatically, because they also want to revive the Spanish nation. Revival is what it's about. National revival, spiritual revival, revival in the growth of our indigenous populations. We must take a stand against abortion. And this has got to be really the front line of the battle, the political battle of the future. Thank you.